The final session in the series of sessions of Keep Moving Movement 2021 is I am a forest inside a seed. Now, those of you who know me, you have often heard me say this statement again and again. Inside every seed, there is a forest. It's a Chinese saying which makes one believe how much a person can be. In life school, a philosophy that we always follow is there is no yardstick, no way by which anybody can predict human potential. We are actually unlimited. We are actually unlimited. And that is what the last session is all about. Who am I? I am a forest inside a seed. Sight is for what we can see. Vision is what we can see in our minds, which the eyes cannot see. And the vision for you and me should be, I am a forest inside a seed. Whatever I have done till now in my life, I've just become a seed. And the seed, in turn, is going to go on to become a huge, huge, huge forest. So the final session is, I am a forest inside a seed. You know, when we give to our kids a statement which has intrigue, when there is a statement which has mystery, and a statement which has an element of discovery, it will resonate very deep with them. And I find this statement in those lines, I am a forest inside a seed, where you make every child in the class possibly laugh, and then slowly and gently, unknowing to them, we move into the session, and the crescendo is as we near the completion of the session. This session will be a beautiful journey of public speaking. This session will be a beautiful journey of connecting with the audience very meaningfully. This session would be like weaving a tapestry of magic, where one stroke at a time, the painter in his mind knows the painting they want to create, but the world sees what was about to happen towards the end of the painting. It will be a masterclass on communication. It will also be a masterclass on your ability to make somebody dream, make somebody think big. It will also be a beautiful masterclass for you yourself when you contemplate for some time on the power and the depth of this session. So how do we begin? We begin, of course, very humorously. And the humor over here is, there is nothing more ridiculous than a brilliant person explaining a stupid idea. Have you ever gone through something like this? When somebody whom you believe is brilliant takes the responsibility of convincing you about something stupid. You've ever gone through that experience? Will people say the same about you? Yeah, I know this brilliant person, Shefali, but God knows what happened to her yesterday. I could not understand what she's attempting to say at all. I mean, अगर ऐसा तुम्हारे life में हुआ नहीं है ना, then you are not yet a genius. All genius go on a track which the world does not understand at all. So every now and then, if the world does not understand you, congratulations, you are on the path of being a genius. In one of the meetings that we had, there was a psychologist who was involved, and the deliberation was all about children and where does the brightness of the child dim? When is it that society starts creating a huge impact on them? When is it that they are first convinced that they have to delight the society and they must be acceptable to the society? So we were talking about one of the greatest traps of human thinking being, what is the world thinking about me? You know, my dear friend Amit Kamble, whose wife is here today, I saw her. He said a few lines when he was doing the batch a few months ago, and he said, "Sabse bada rog kya kahenge log?" And I found it very apt. How beautifully has he put it? "Sabse bada rog kya kahenge log?" And this psychologist, she was convinced that all of us are a product of how we were potty trained. Can you believe that? This psychologist is convinced that all of us become socially dependent because of the way we were potty trained. She had everybody's attention. That how come potty training made us like victims to the whims of the society? She presented her idea incredibly well. I mean, beautifully well wouldn't be the apt word over here because we are talking about potty training, but incredibly well is definitely a phrase that I can use. You know what she said? Visualize a mother wanting to potty train her child. What would she do? She'll take the child to the appropriate place and she would say, sit. Child doesn't want to sit. The child wants to run around. Mama says, sit. And then mama feels this is the right time for the child to produce. So the mama would say, produce. Karo. The child has no idea. Karo matlab kya? Kaise? Okay, the child has no idea that they can actually induce bowel movements. For the child, it is something very natural. The way you and me breathe, the child thinks, I mean, potty susu is as natural as that. But can you imagine, and maybe you are one of those dads or moms who have done this, or maybe you have gone through this. Produce. Chalo karo. The child says, nahi aa raha. Karo. Aega. Jarur aega. कैसे नहीं आएगा एक लगाऊं आएगा कैसे नहीं can you visualize that she says the difficult child resists and some children are like the parents एकदम जिद्दी नहीं मतलब नहीं no cooperation movement Mahatma Gandhi liberated the Britishers I can at least liberate myself from my parents no cooperation means no cooperation but they underestimate their mother Mother is as difficult as the child. जब तक करोगे नहीं यहां से हिलोगे नहीं. Finally, the child produces the gift that society demanded out of it. And the mother is very relieved, excited, and the face of a victor. हुआ के नहीं, आया के नहीं, बोली थी ना मैं. The sad part is, what did the child do? What did the society do with the gift that the child demanded it to produce? The society thrashed it, trashed it. It was considered insignificant and dirty. And the child started believing they are not good enough. Mama asked me to produce, I produced. And it was thrown away. Not good enough. My psychologist friend said, from that time, the child who's about 8 months old, 10 months old, 12 months old is told, your job is to make your parents happy. Your job is to make your father happy. Your job is to make your mother happy. If not, you will get beaten and thrashed. There's a guy called Ben Renshaw who writes a book called The Secrets of Happiness. In that book, Ben Renshaw writes, by the age of 18, we would have been praised about 30,000 times in our life. By the age of 18, we would have been appreciated by the world about 30,000 times. And then he goes on to write, sadly, most of it, close to 90%, would have happened before our age of 3. And he goes on to write, in contrast, we would have been criticized 250,000 times. No wonder we are so focused on what has gone wrong or what might go wrong. Think about your life. As we grew up, our parents and teachers focused on what we have not done right. The focus was on the subjects where we have scored the lowest. The focus was on our mistakes and failures. The intention was so that we can improve. Just imagine, compared to the number of times we tell our children about the mistakes they have done or the limitations they have, how often are they appreciated? And psychology says for every negative feedback, at least 5 are required to neutralize the impact of the negative feedback. And what is happening? 30,000 times we are appreciated, but 250,000 times we are told we are not good enough. The reverse is happening. No doubt. We are apprehensive. No doubt. We are looking at what the world is going to say about us. After our school, after our college comes workplace. And when we go to workplace, reviews with the boss focuses on where we were not good enough, what we haven't finished, where do we need to do better. Society, people, our own loved ones measure our worth and success based on our accomplishments, and they see failures as something which has to be avoided. To set the context for this session, I discussed with you in the morning about what would be a good decision. When I see failures as something which has to be avoided, every failure creates a block in the mindset and stops us from nurturing a growth-oriented mindset. This, in turn, limits us to live our life at our bare minimum potential and does not help us to actualize our life potentials. Yes, the truth is, I am a forest inside a seed, and yet 99% of people will die not as a forest, but as a seed. Every human being is a gold mine of possibilities. Gold mine of possibilities. And I'll share with you about a few people today, which is a proof of what you and me can be as gold mines. And most of the people I speak to you about today are people you have never heard of in your life. So I'm not going to speak today about Virat Kohli and Narendra Modi and Mark Zuckerberg. I'm going to speak about ordinary people you and me haven't heard about. And you will know the kind of battles they faced. And yet, the seed did not die as a seed. The seed lived as a forest. Given the right environment, right support, right exposure, most people will deliver more than expectations. And this is what we do in Let's Explore, in Life School, and this is what we are attempting to do in Keep Moving Movement. Right support, right environment, right exposure. And I have seen people deliver much more than expectations. And the story of a Matthias, the story of Aushu, the story of Amit, the story of Pankaj, I don't know how brilliantly well they have performed in many aspects of life. But right environment, right support, and they deliver much more than expectations in KMM. Let me ask you a very beautiful question now. Who is the most important person in your life? You don't have to answer. You just have to think. Hold on to the answers. Whom do you believe is the most important person in your life? It is not your father, it's not your mother, it's not your teacher, it's not your husband, it's not your wife, it's not your children. And in many ways, it's not just you also. I'll give you the answer. Who is the most important person in your life? It's not the person you love. It's the person who believes in you. The most important person in your life is the person who believes in you. Sometimes that person is you. Because you believe in you. Sometimes you're blessed to have a person with you. Now, it can be a child, it can be a spouse, it can be a parent, it can be a friend, it can be a teacher who believes in you. I met this lovely lady in Bangalore. Her name is Neelu. Neelu had a troubled childhood, a challenging situation at home. And then in a government school that she was studying, she came across a teacher who believed in her. The teacher guided her, held her hands when she was fighting many things which are complicated in her life. It's the presence of this teacher who believed in her, who lifted her to where she is today. She went on to become an engineer, an image consultant, and today she is the president of the Image Consultant Society in Bangalore. A teacher believed in her. The most important person in our life is the person who believes in you. Their opinion about you is crucial. How many of you believe I am the most handsome, smartest man on this planet? All of you believe in me and I love it. Others who did not raise their hands. Okay. धीरे धीरे हाथ ऊपर उठ रहे हैं. What you're going to do in the classes, and this is what brilliant communication is all about. You will take a part of the session very intensely. And then you will bring in humor. Intensity might take them to the past. intensity might make them dream. Humor always brings people to the present. You cannot laugh absent-mindedly. You and me can be sad absent-mindedly. So as the session is going on at its peak intensity, and you're speaking about the most important person in your life is somebody who believes in you, throw this question. One or two alert people will raise their hands and will say, Miss, sir, yes, you are right. You're the most beautiful. You're the most handsome. You're the most smartest. You're the most intelligent. And then you make some faces like I did. Generate enough laughter. Bring them close to you. Say, this is going to be fun. This is not going to be out on bang, 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 bang. Before you move to the next level of the session. I have a friend of mine, lovely lady. Her name is Ada Yunath. Who is this lady? Let me tell you about her. Ada is the Nobel Prize winner for chemistry in 2009. We were having dinner at JW Marriott a few years ago when she was on a trip to India. And she's one of the Nobel Prize winners with whom I have had the pleasure of having dinner. Ada might be about 4 feet 7 inches or 4 feet 8 inches. But her confidence, oh my God. Oh my God. As we were discussing about education, impact, woman, Ada asked us this question. In India, how many marks are given to students who ask questions? And we were like, marks for questions? No, we give marks for answers. And she said, but why? Isn't questions a mark of intelligence? And hurriedly, I was thinking about a few questions to ask her. I have to maintain my image. I have to prove मेरे को भी questions आता है. But thankfully, the conversation went into another direction. And I asked her, you are a Jew. So she is the first Israeli woman to get the Nobel Prize for chemistry. First. So I asked her, how did you do it? She said, Jews make up for less than 0.2% people in the world's population. Jews are less than 0.2% of the world's population. And they win 22% of Nobel Prizes. They are 0.2% and they win 22%, which means compared to the international average, they win the Nobel Prize 10,000 times more. It's like, wow. She says, a person who is not willing to overcome obstacles in life cannot ever become great. In Jew families, we are made ready to overcome all obstacles in life. We are told you will overcome all obstacles because you will have many obstacles in life. We are not expected to have an easy life. We expect life to be super tough, and therefore when life is tough, it is as per expectations. And she gave this statement to me, Naren, the most important person in your life is you. You must win your trust. The most important person in your life is you. You must win your trust. She says, when you trust yourself, you will have massive goals in your life. When you trust yourself, you will have massive goals in your life. Let me share with you a few stories because I believe stories have a lot of power. They delight, they enchant, they touch, they teach, they help us in recalling, they inspire, they motivate, they challenge us. Whenever you want to make a point or whenever you want to raise an issue, one of the best ways to do that is by sharing stories. Let me begin with the story of Thomas Alva Edison. The first two stories would be stories that you would have heard. Then will come stories that I'm sure you wouldn't have heard. One day, the young Thomas Edison came home and handed a paper to his mother, a paper which he had been given at school. He told her, "My teacher gave me this paper and told me to give it only to you." His mother's eyes were tearful as she read it aloud to her son. So she's reading this. "Your son is a genius. The school is too small for him and doesn't have good teachers to train him. Please teach him yourself." After years, Edison's mother died. He was one of the most renowned inventors in the whole world. One day he was going through the old family belongings. Suddenly he noticed a folded piece of paper in the corner of a drawer. He took it up, opened it. On the paper, the teacher's note from the school was written, "Your son is addled," which means he's mentally challenged. "We won't let him come to school anymore." The school had written, "Your son is addled. We won't let him come to school anymore." And she had read it out, "Your son is a genius. The school is too small for him and we don't have good enough teachers to train him. So please teach yourself." Thomas Edison cried for hours after reading that note. And he wrote in his diary, Thomas Alva Edison was an adult child that by a hero mother became the genius of the century. Somebody believed in Thomas Alva Edison. And even when the child was addled, he went on to become the genius of the century. So if you have somebody who believes in you, respond to that person. Don't block that person. If a teacher looks at the child and says, "You are clever," cooperate with the teacher. Make that the truth. Don't say, "Yeah, I'm clever, but you know." Allow somebody's trust in you to blossom the seed into a forest. There's an extraordinary anecdote about mistakes and learning. And I'm sure many of you would have read this, but in the context of the session, it fits perfectly well. A great scientist was interviewed by a newspaper and asked, how was he able to achieve so much more than an ordinary person? He responded, "It's all because of the lesson his mother taught him when he was a small child." He was trying to take a bottle of milk out from the refrigerator when he lost his grip and spilled the entire content on the kitchen floor. Imagine a child attempting to carry a bottle, the bottle drops. There is milk all over the floor. His mother, instead of scolding him, said, "You have made a mess. I've rarely seen such a wonderful puddle of milk. Well, the damage is already done, but since the milk is there on the floor, would you like to play on it for a little while?" Indeed, he did. And after a few minutes, the mother said, "Whenever we make a mess like this, we also have to clean it up. Now, how would you like to clean it up? Would you like to use a towel, a sponge, or a mop? What do you prefer?" And after they finished cleaning it up, mother said, What we have is a failed experiment on how to carry a big bottle of milk with your two tiny hands. Let's go out in the backyard and fill a bottle of water and find out, can we find the right way to carry a big bottle in tiny hands without dropping that bottle? And they did. The scientist then remarked, it was in that experience he realized he didn't have to be afraid to make mistakes. Indeed, he learned that mistakes were opportunities of learning something. After all scientific experiments are nothing but a willingness to make mistakes with the objective to learn. A willingness to make mistakes with the objective to learn. Somebody believed in the scientist, and the mother taught him how to learn from the mistakes. Somebody believed in Thomas Alva Edison and taught him to become the genius of the century. Let's come to the current times. Have you heard of this lady called Rani Rampal? Suna hai Rani Rampal? This lady, she created waves for India in the Olympics right now. Do you know she comes from such a poor family? They did not have a clock at home. Her mother, the entire night, will wake her up for training by looking up at the sky. मतलब सुबह हो गया कि नहीं हो गया? They didn't have a watch. They didn't have a clock. She would look up at the sky and say, अरे बच्चा सुबह हो गया, चल 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 तेरे को practice करना है ना. Rani Rampal had a mother who believed in her. And see what she has accomplished today. Vandana Kataria, another exceptional lady who was one of the highest scorers from India in this Olympics. Do you know she stayed in a village where the elders will not allow a girl to play? A girl was not allowed to play in a village. She practiced alone with tree branches in places far away from her village. She believed in herself and went on to represent the country in Olympics and become one of the highest scorers. Everybody would say, no, you're not supposed to. She believed in herself. Have you heard of this lady called Haima Bati? I am sure you haven't. But all of us have to bow down to this lady, Haima Bati. She was married to a widower who was 5 times her age. He would bring women to her house because she was a young child, about 8-9 years old when she was married. When she was 12, her husband died. Because her husband died, she was supposed to be bad omen. Her own mother said, you are a bad omen. As a child widow, she faced the fury of the society. And everybody around said, you brought misfortune into our lives. Though a child widow, ignored, abused, driven from pillar to post, she nursed the desire to study and go for higher education. You know what? She eventually became a doctor in charge of huge Dufferin Hospital for women. She was one of the first lady doctors of our country. Her autobiography beautifully illustrates the predicament of a woman determined to earn an honorable living in a man's world. And I'm speaking about 100 years ago. Let me tell you something extraordinary. She stood first in her class. The boys in the class decided to go on a strike if she was given the gold medal. She was given the silver medal for coming first in class. Can you believe that? The boys said, we will go on a strike. We won't study if you give a girl a gold medal. Can you imagine the society at that point of time? She believed in herself. Nobody believed in her. People called her an omen of misfortune. What a lady. Have you heard about Muthu Lakshmi? No? She was asked to sit behind a curtain in school, and she was told, you will be allowed to go to the school only on one condition: you cannot show your face to anybody. You know why? Because her mother was a Devdasi. You know who's a Devdasi? Some of you may not know the word Devdasi. Again, one of the stupid customs of our country. Devdasis were the offering to the Almighty, and the pujaris in the mandir were allowed to copulate with her, with any Devdasi. She had no control over who wants to be with her. She was called offering to God, and then anybody could sleep with her. And Muthu Lakshmi Reddy was a daughter of a Devdasi. But she refused to believe that is her life. She grew up, she studied. The Child Marriage Restraint Act that was passed in 1929 was thanks to the effort of Muthu Lakshmi Reddy. She became the first Indian woman member of the Legislative Council. She introduced legislation against the exploitive Devdasi system and abolished it. She set up a center for girls to come, stay, study, learn, and earn. She was not an ordinary woman. She went on to set up Adyar Cancer Institute in Chennai. It runs even today brilliantly well. Of the hospital beds, only 40% are paying beds. And the remaining are general beds where patients are given free boarding and lodging. Annually, over 15,000 patients are treated in Adyar Cancer Institute, and more than 140,000 follow-up cases are seen at the institute. For all her social work in 1956, she was awarded the Padma Bhushan. Who believed in her? Nobody believed in her. She believed in herself. Today, the most popular scheme for women in Tamil Nadu is named after Muthu Lakshmi. Imagine a life where you can't show your face to anybody. Son of a Devdasi, so everybody will laugh at you. And she goes on to help 150,000 people every year through her cancer institute. My God, what happens when you believe in yourself? You become a forest inside a seed. You know, these are people who made noise with their deeds instead of giving up and staying silent. Instead of giving up and suffering. Instead of giving up and crying that nobody helps me, nobody supports me, nobody believes me. They were told, don't take up space. Yet they ran around and success changed them. They not only ensured that they did well, they made this world a better place to live in. They not only ensured that they did well, they made sure the world is a better place to live in. They trusted themselves. If they could trust themselves, why not you and me? And don't tell me it is because of the way you were potty trained. If they could trust themselves, why not you and me? Let us make our determination stronger than our excuses. Let us make our determination to become a forest from a seed stronger than any and all excuse. What do you think truly limits us? Truly, genuinely. What do you think limits us? Just take a minute and think. What do you think genuinely limits us? It is never the limit of skills that limit us. It is never the limit of our knowledge that limits us. It is never the limit of our physical capacity that limits us. One was an adult child. My friend Anna is a winner of the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. It is the limits of courage. It is the limits of our willingness to commit. It is the lack of belief in our willingness to learn. And it is the limits of our belief in our ability to change that limits us. If we begin today on changing our internal limits, tomorrow we can move mountains. Is the game on? Or have you left the game? All that you need to do is learn how to build trust for yourself. Become the most important person in your life. And who's that most important person? Not who is self-centered, not who is selfish, not who is protective, not who is scared, not who is insecure. Mera kisi ko main nahi dega. That is not the most important person in your life. The most person in your life, the most important person in your life is somebody who trusts you. And how to build that trust? How do you build that trust? It's very simple. Every tough phase, every bounce back opportunity, every difficult project, every challenging situation, every person who needs help in your life is an opportunity to earn your own trust. Look at this slide properly. Every tough phase of your life, you go through it with self-respect and you trust yourself. Every time you have an opportunity to bounce back, you grab that opportunity and you trust yourself. Every difficult project in your life, where there will be many failures, you are at it and you trust yourself. Every challenging situation where things are not favorable, you might be completely at sea, at a loss. You don't know how to do it. But yet you say, we shall overcome. Every challenging situation is an opportunity to build trust. And finally, the most beautiful, exclusively available to human beings, every person who needs our help, if we can reach out and help them, is an opportunity to earn your own trust. You help somebody, you feel so good about being you. You help someone, you know you are so genuine. And that's why every time you go to a session of KMM, whether it is 2 children in your class or 11 children in your class or 100 children in your class, you see those 2 who are there and you say, they need my help and I'm going to do something today by which I'm going to make an impact in their life. In the process, I know I'm going to help myself by feeling good. In the end, I will feel gratitude for these 2 who had come. and you will trust yourself. We trust ourselves when we give our 100% and a little more. We trust ourselves when we assume responsibility for our choices. We trust ourselves when we are kind, when we could have been rude. I repeat those three. We trust ourselves when we give our 100% and a little more. We trust ourselves when we assume responsibility for our choices. We don't fall a trap to resulting, we just make good choices. We trust ourselves when we are kind, when we could have been rude. When we live this kind of a life, not only will we trust ourselves, people will also start trusting ourselves. And that is the most beautiful phase of life. Let's say today I trust myself, and today you trust me. I trust myself, people trusting us. And this kind of a trust creates a beautiful trust. Beautiful trust. Some of us will have big resources. When we have big resources but no trust, we start rich but we live poor. Some of us have big resource and full trust. We start rich, we live rich, we become richer. Some of us have no resource, but full trust. We start poor, become rich, live richer. So no matter where you are with resources, if you have trust, you will live a rich life. I'm saying rich life. Rich not only is money, but love, affection, opportunities, health, gratitude, good friends, impact on the world. You know, it was said, he is very poor. He has nothing but money. We are speaking about a rich person. Not with respect to money, but with respect to love, trust, impact, laughter. Laughter. If you can laugh and you have a wholehearted laughter, and you should listen to Pramila laugh sometimes, one of the most beautiful laughters in the world, you are rich. No matter where you start with resources, when you live your life with trust, you live a beautiful life. I have created a philosophy, and that philosophy is everything in life is another opportunity to trust myself. Everything in life is another opportunity to trust myself. And towards the completion of this session, whatever happens, never break anyone's trust. Whatever happens, never break anyone's trust. This will be the last session of KMM. Leave them with this fire to trust themselves. When we can leave them with this fire to trust themselves, they also start trusting life. When I trust myself, I trust life. When I doubt myself, I doubt life. So let's live that kind of a life where even if I am being buried, another very beautiful favorite statement that I love, trust life. Because even if I am being buried, it is because my destiny is not that of a seed, but of a forest. In case things are going wrong, because life is making me strong. In case I'm seeing nothing but darkness, it is because the journey of the seed towards becoming a forest has begun. When you trust life, you allow the seed to take a little water from the soil, a little nourishment from the soil, and slowly sprout into a beautiful small sapling, become a tree, create enough seeds, and become a forest. This is what I want to tell you. You are meant to be a forest. You and me today are a seed. Let's continue the journey of the seed being forest. Every now and then in life, we will go through ups and downs. And every down has a purpose. Life is not against us. Just trust life. Trust life, make good decisions. Trust life, take good decisions. Trust life, live good decisions. And soon you will find yourself as a forest. Tell this to the children. Your life has begun. The fact that KMM has come into their life, the fact that something like this so powerful has reached them, trust life. Good things are in store for them. They are doubly blessed if they have somebody who believes in them and give them this promise that KMM will always believe in them. I promise to you, no matter what, I will always be there for you. In case you are in any difficulty, don't hesitate, reach out to us. And together, we will find some solution. We will find some way out. Yesterday, a very, very dear friend of mine, Aruna Katara, she messaged me early in the morning saying, Naren, I have been diagnosed with cancer of the pancreas. And my message to her was, if you don't mind, can you send me an audio clip of 30 seconds with you laughing? And in 15 minutes, she sends this audio clipping with she laughing. And she says, that's all, I don't need anything else. अरे हंसते हुए इसको पार कर देंगे, दुखी होके क्या पार करने, हंसते हुए निकल जाएंगे. Just that little one, cancer, you have come. Where have you come? अरे इसको हटाएंगे. Your whole body will cooperate with you. Otherwise, you'll be surrounded by sympathy, and that's not what you want. You need strength, and that comes by you trusting yourself. So trust yourself. And may this seed called you live as a forest. We are grateful for you being a part of KMM, for you creating so much time, for you to have the heart to reach out and impact the lives of the future of our country. Let this session, that I am a forest inside the seed, be taken with complete conviction. Today, the way you are convinced about your name, today, the way you are convinced about your gender, today, the way you are convinced about who you are born to, today, if you are convinced about the nationality you belong to, with the same conviction, deliver this session in the class. May this session completely transform your life. And through you, may this session completely transform the life of the children.